Hello, everyone. It's me, Kirsten, and this is the It's Giving Mystical podcast. And this is your podcast for the week ahead, the week of March 20th. Dun dun dun. What, in layman's terms, WTF was this past week? What happened? What happened? That was crazy. That was crazy, right? The the full ride of Mercury retrograde ending, the build up towards that Pisces new moon, and then this day, today's the 19th, tomorrow's the 20th. Tomorrow will be the beginning of the astrological new year. It will be the spring equinox. Whew, even light and dark. But okay, just stay with me on this one. When they say we're hitting the 0 point of the zodiac, like when the astrologers talk about how this movement from Pisces to Aries is so significant because it's a 0 degree of the zodiac, which happens every year, right? But then there's planets that are aligning with that. This move from Pisces to Aries is happening in a bunch of planets and a bunch of placements. And when the astrologers talk about a new era, it's like, okay, yeah, new era. Okay, I don't know if I can like verbalize this. The grief that came in on Monday, but Tuesday, Wednesday, and Tuesday it hit the hardest, was wild. And it felt like any grief that I haven't felt for the past 12 years, 10 years, was like bubbling up to be cleared. And anything I've been working on that's been kind of in process, whether it's like far along the path or it's just like a new learning, a new embodied way of being, it all came into view. It all came right up on the radar. I really was totally thrown. I was fighting with my kids, which I never do. I was really thrown off by this. And the grief that came up was like long, deep grief. And it was about my mother, and it was about the failing of past relationships, and it was about the things that are not going to unfold. One of the saddest things about ending a relationship, someone dying, is all of the unlived life that will happen, right? Like you're not going to keep walking down that path. And there's so much grief in that. And all of that kind of came up to a surface on Tuesday. A lot of funny communication, a lot of funny interactions. And this felt sense of where I left it was the sense of really clearing the decks, that house of cards, that the struggle collapsing, just anything that's not meant to travel with us in this next time was really working its way out of the system, really working its way through the system, and really coming up for a final review, for credits, like roll credits. This has been your past chapter. Roll credits. These are the things that you've lost. These are the things that you've gained. This is what matters to you. This is how your values have shifted. These are the things that remain unsaid. These are the things you want to remember that you said. This really interesting kind of roll credits energy. And with the 5 of Wands last week, this energy of, I think I'm headed down this path, and all of a sudden the wind dies. And just before this new moon, literally that analogy of we're moving, and then all of a sudden it collapses, and then we're still. And we're in those doldrums. Like we're in those doldrums for a moment where there's no hiding from what is. There's no hiding from what needs to be understood, needs to be seen, needs to be reckoned with, needs to be cleared out, so that ideally we can move into this new astrological new year and really this new change of the guard, this new change of chapter, this new change of series, this new book we're writing with embodying this new version of ourselves. So that was a lot. You can talk about it, but to have moved through it, it was so intense. And your girl digs intensity. She digs transformation. She digs understanding and breaking down the story and re-piecing it together. I live for that stuff. And this was a tough one for me. So wherever you are, I hope that you had support in that. I hope you gave yourself grace in that. And I hope that whatever that pause was, that collapse was, that wind dying for a moment, I hope it worked for you. I hope it served you in some way. Old people came back into my life just for a minute, and I kept running into images and reminders of my mother. And I just had this sense of like, wow, there's still grief here that just to survive, I haven't fully felt. And it was like everything died and gave me this opportunity to feel that grief more fully as a way of it doesn't go away, like you're not clearing it per se, but it did feel like a cleaning out, like a cleaning out. Like, don't take this with you, Kirst. Like, don't, ignore the grief that's sitting here and don't forget to feel it so that you can kind of like, yeah, bow and end the practice and move on to what's next. So wild. That was a wild one. Wherever you are, I hope you didn't have my experience, and I hope you did have my experience, both. And I hope you weren't kind of in the, oh my God, what is this of it? And at the same time, I do wish that you have some perspective shift that allows you to, yeah, take a deeper, fuller breath and turn to face the future with more clarity and more. It's not even power as much as it's more clarity. Just like, right, I know what's next. I know what I'm here to do. I know where my work lies in this next chapter. And, back to the old saying, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to be here now. Okay, the card I pulled for us this week is the Three of Wands. Three of Wands, those of you who know me know I'm a big fan of this card. Really have such a strong kinship with the character on this card. And this card can mean so many things. The most basic story that I've told before, but I'll tell again because it always bears repeating, is that the movement from the Two of Wands to the Three of Wands is a pretty substantial upgrade, evolution, evolving metamorphosis into this, exactly what I was saying, version of you that is not afraid, that stands clear in what's next, that is fully embodied in their meeting of the future when they meet the future. The Two of Wands, there's a lot of external voices in what power is and what success is, and in do you see me? Do you see me as a successful being in the world? And the Three of Wands, moving to the Three of Wands, is do I feel myself as a successful being in the world? And the markers of success are internally calibrated. So the markers of success are, do I feel present? Do I feel brave? Do I feel embodied? Do I feel powerful? Do I feel like I have choice and freedom? Do I feel like I have access to my power, which again is the Three of Wands? And in the Two of Wands, the wands are nailed to the concrete or nailed to the city walls. And in the Three of Wands, we see that there's this ease with our power. And again, the threes in the tarot and in numerology are perfection. So there's a settling in of the Three of Wands, which I always find deeply satisfying. And the idea that he has his back fully to the viewer of the card, that's very unusual in tarot. I have to think about it, but I'm pretty sure he's the only one with his back fully to the viewer. Meaning, again, my measure of success, my measure of what's working for me is something I determine. He is standing at the edge. He's got some similarity to Hermit in that way, except that he's in the warm sunshine. So this is really a re-engagement with our power, a re-engagement with our clarity, a re-engagement with our perfection. And I say that in a metaphorical way. So our perfection, meaning like our full presence in this moment. This card can be read as your ship coming in. So that's a beautiful interpretation of this card. The sense of myself, knowing who I am, knowing what's for me, knowing what I'm aligned with, and my patience as I wait for that to return to me, as I wait for the world to almost fall in place with what I know to be true. Like the inevitability of how the world meets me when I come to it from a place of clarity, integrity, power. So when this card comes up in a reading, it can have the sense of my ship coming in. So like my success coming to meet me. This can have a sense of, I know who I am now in a way that I didn't before. It has a sense of surviving trial and not surviving, not the Nine of Wands, not the wounded warrior card, but the seasoned warrior card. The version of you that's like, you know what, I did what the world told me to do. I hit all the marks. It reminds me a little bit, and I don't know a lot about her story, but that figure skater who left skating because she was disillusioned, right? She had hit all this success, all this Two of Wands success. The world applauded and said it worked for her, but she was not feeling fulfilled internally. Again, like this internal calibration of what's it like in here? Am I satisfied? Do I feel strong and good and clear and alive and free and filled with love or moving with love? That's what's happening in the internal system. And her movement to re-enter figure skating on her terms with joy. And that's pictured here with the Three of Wands. I'm doing this for me now. What's that song? Me, Myself, and I, popular maybe 10 years ago. But it's this idea of like, at the end of the day, it's me, myself, and I. I'm here to please me, myself, and I. I know I'm going to succeed because it's me, myself, and I. There's something about the sense of I have my own back. And come what may, come hell or high water, I'm on my own team. That is the energy of the Three of Wands. So I love this card. It speaks to me. It's a card that I return to again and again. There's a sense of inevitability. There's a sense of reunion, and it can be reunion like people, but it's more of reunion of like coming back home to yourself, coming back into a resettling. And when you think about that wind, the energy that came in the last week, which was this wind fighting against this wind, and then the wind collapsing, and then this pausing, or this house of cards falling, or this collapsing that left you kind of standing there like, oh, wait, what am I fighting? What am I even doing? And then the quiet that sheds or clears what needs to be cleared so that you can emerge onto the path again, a more authentic version of yourself, a more self-reliant version of yourself. There's always something I find this very sexy about this energy, because it's the sense of home in self that can't be faked, that you have to walk it to earn it. And one of the things that came up for me this week was someone that I love very dearly feeling like he wasn't able to pull himself back. And there's a part of me that really wanted to dive in there with him and be like, I got you. We can do this together. And the realization of he's going to have to make those choices for himself. And this is a lesson I come in contact with over and over again. But he's going to have to choose for himself to stand up and fight the fight. And as much as I would never want to say to someone, you're going to have to do that, I know from my own experience that who I am on the other side of walking myself home is, you wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. So is it easy to be the one that walks yourself home? No. And yet when you're called to it, it's an offering. It's an offering from the universe. It's an offering from your higher self to test yourself, to see who you are alone in the dark. And that is here with the Three of Wands. So I hope that if there's some part of you that's maybe turned away from what you need to face, or turned away from what you know is calling you forward, calling you up and forward, that maybe this week you find the strength to realize that journey is going to be worth it. Or you realize that in some way that journey has been worth it, that you're somehow arriving at a place that you couldn't have arrived at without the tough nights. There's something here about his clothes being patched back together, making it work, a little bit of make it work energy. But again, it's not about the wounded warrior, it's about the seasoned one, right? The seasoned one that stands on the edge and says, okay, so what do I want now? If I put it to the side, what I'm supposed to want, and I put to the side what I've gotten so far. This reminds me of what I keep saying about the hummingbird and zero velocity. If I remove myself from the destiny line that me or my environment or my community or my family has been invested in, and I step out of that, I step off of that map, and I get to choose the next map, and I just get to stand there for a moment and just think about what comes next. What would I choose? And that energy is very much here with the Three of Wands. I find this deeply inspiring at this moment in the astrological new year, because it feels like choice, and it feels like, again, authenticity of choice. So standing there and being like, everything else aside, what would I choose? What am I here to do? What kind of world do I want to create? And again, inevitable faith goes back to that Empress energy of the inevitability, the inevitable faith that I'm not wrong, that when I want something, when I feel the pull towards something, when I feel the call towards something, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to absolutely arrive at that place, but I'm never wrong to feel the pull, the desire, the longing as a navigational signal. It's telling me something, it's moving me somewhere. And if I can stay still long enough to hear the truth of that, the clarity of that, and then move accordingly, the world will never not meet me. I'll never not be met with the next right step. And that's here with the Three of Wands. So in the Three of Wands week, trust yourself, trust what you're being called towards. This is a week where I don't have to make sense to anyone, not even myself. I'm allowed to just trust what calls me into the next step. If you want to, in a Three of Wands, you can wait. You can just be patient. You can see what arrives as you stay still. So that's a beautiful invitation for a Three of Wands week. Okay, I'm different now. I'm learning how to move on a new map. I'm learning how to move with more, again, authenticity, integrity, patience, I can just wait here until I know exactly what to do next, or I can wait here while the world reveals to me what is next. So there's kind of two ways to feel this. It's like, am I headed out on the path? Am I clear about that? Or am I waiting for a moment while the path is revealed to me? And both of those are valid responses to the Three of Wands energy. And then the third one is watching something that you've longed for arrive at your shores. So I hope in this Three of Wands week that you feel more faith in yourself. I hope you feel more in touch with your true heart's desire. I hope you feel more in touch with the path that you long to walk, regardless of what anyone else thinks. Like, I hope you trust yourself and you trust what's next in terms of, where your feet go, what's next in this next chapter, this next book, this next series that we're entering into. And I hope that you trust your ability to impact the world and to create the world with your own vision, like to dream your own world into being. It's beautiful energy. There's a little bit of wistfulness here, a little bit of tenderness, maybe a little bit of nostalgia. There might be some of that grief I talked about, some grief still clearing from the system of the paths that are no longer aligned, the paths that are no longer yours to walk, the work that's no longer yours to do. All of us helpers and healers know that it can become part of our identity to help, to heal. And there might be some awakening around this time where you say, oh, as much as I got power from that, or I got validation from that, it's not actually my job. It's not actually my role to play anymore. So there can be a little bit of nostalgia and grief for the maps that are complete, the roads that are no longer ours to travel, the companions who may or may not join us in this next leg. I can feel a little bit of a heaviness in my heart, not enough to dissuade you from what you need to do, but almost an honoring of, just because it's not on the path with me now doesn't mean it didn't matter, doesn't mean it wasn't a beautiful chapter, doesn't mean it wasn't super special and right at the time. It's like a very mature, very mature but very sad view of, I loved that. We were happy and I loved that. And it makes me emotional. And it's not for me in the future. Both and of that energy is here with us. What else could the Three of Wands say? Yeah, I feel like a tenderness and a grief and a nostalgia here that you might want to be with, sit with, acknowledge. And again, not to fix, but to say out loud to yourself. Because there's something about entering new fields, entering new maps that awakens or reminds us or puts in contrast what's no longer ours, where we're no longer meant to walk. And that's okay. It's okay to say, I'm excited about what's next, and I'll miss the sweetness of what was. It doesn't mean there's not more sweetness in the future, but that particular flavor might be something you're closing, kind of sealing away. And it might be really helpful and beautiful to say, I seal that away with a lot of love and a lot of gratitude for what it was and what it brought me and how it changed me and all of that. What else is here? It's okay to be nervous. It's okay to pause. It's okay to choose the patience route of this, I'm just going to see what happens for a minute. And it's okay to be a little nervous about this. Has the quality of a really new map. It's giving me Super Mario Brothers when you're like in the desert world and you're like, I got this. And then all of a sudden they put you in the ice world. You're like, this is different. That's like very much minimizing it. But there's a sense of the rules are different, the terrain's different, and I'm a little nervous. Excited. I want to be here. I choose this, but I am a little nervous about what it means. What I wouldn't do is I wouldn't rush anything. I wouldn't force anything. I would really think about, going back to what we said at the beginning of the year, the sense of alignment over effort. This week, you might really notice the contrast of those two things, that you can want something or miss something or long for something that also feels out of alignment. And so there can be a sense of what you're choosing, noticing where you might be efforting, and notice if there's an aligned choice that might also be available to you, and get curious about why you might be choosing more effort, more work over a sense of alignment, a sense of flow. I think that's it. Three of Wands. Not easy energy, but empowering energy and very timely energy. Be free. Be free on your path. Be brave and trust yourself. Like, trust whatever road you've had to walk to arrive here. There's something new on the horizon, something warm and lovely on the horizon, and you get to decide when it's time to take those first steps and when you're still kind of saying goodbye to what was and when you're kind of still gathering yourself for the journey. And, you know, wherever you are in the process, the Three of Wands reminds you that it's nobody's walk but yours. You're the only one doing this one. You're the only one incarnate as the person you are. You're the only one who's here to live it this way, sing it this way. And so a lot of patience for your own pacing and what feels right and authentic to you. Don't let anyone push you to move faster than you're ready in a Three of Wands week. Three of Wands. Okay. So much love to you and happy equinox. Whew. May this next week be a little less tumultuous than the week we just came out of. For me, at least. I could use a calm one. I could use a resting one. I could use a let me pause and gather myself together one. So if you need that too, I hope we can all take it. All right. So much love, and I will check you later. Bye.